Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Bhagavatam Bites.
Big shout out to Matt and Priya and Lolita.
Okay, so we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Starting a new chapter today. Where are we?
So it's still Canto 3, but it's chapter 24, the renunciation of Kardama Muni.
So after lots of enjoyment, now we're going to hear about the renunciation. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 1. Recalling the words of Lord Vishnu, the merciful sage Kardama replied as follows to Swayambhuva Manu's praiseworthy daughter, Devahuti, who is speaking words full of renunciation. Text 2. The sage said, "Do not be disappointed with yourself, O princess. You are actually praiseworthy. The infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead will shortly enter your womb as your son." Purport. Kardama Muni encouraged his wife not to be sorry, thinking herself unfortunate, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his incarnation, was going to come from her body.
Wow. I mean, it's all quite amazing, just from the external perspective, it seems like they're probably just like a couple of sense gratifiers flying around on their aerial mansion, enjoying and
showing off with a mansion that flies.
And then, Devahuti's like concerned because she's got 9 daughters. The husband's about to leave and she feels like she's wasted her time. And he says, no, don't worry. God's going to come from you soon. He's going to appear as your son directly. So it's very powerful, very powerful. Text 3. You have undertaken sacred vows. God will bless you. Hence, you should worship the Lord with great faith through sensory control, religious observances, austerities, and gifts of your money in charity. Purport. In order to spiritually advance or to achieve the mercy of the Lord, one must be self-controlled in the following manner. He must be restrained in sense gratification and must follow the rules and regulations of religious principles. Without austerity and penance and without sacrificing one's riches, one cannot achieve the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Kardama Muni advised his wife, you have to factually engage in devotional service with austerity and penance, following the religious principles and giving charity. Then the Supreme Lord will be pleased with you, and he will come as your son. Worship the Lord with great faith through sensory control, religious observances, austerities, and gifts of your money and charity. So I guess this is a lesson for all of us.
Yes.
That we have to factually engage in devotional service with austerity and penance, following religious principles, and giving money in charity.
Yeah, and gifts of your money in charity. Which means give up some of your money.
Yeah, of course.
No, but that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So the Lord would see that. Oh, okay. Because, it's your money and it's your heart, whether you're working or just however the money's coming in, and then it's like, it's one thing to, follow something from I go here, I observe, I go to this place of worship, or I listen to these classes, or I do this, but those little things, giving your time to do some service and giving your money, can be quite painful.
Yeah.
That in itself is the yagya and the austerity, Forget, I can follow the 4 rains, whatever, or I can I observe a half-day fast, but you want me to do, like, can you do some service, Prabhu? Can you do this? You want me to give up, my evening or my weekend, that morning, to come and do this regularly? Oh, and give some money as well, huh? You better believe it, the Supreme Lord better come from me after that. Text 4. The personality of Godhead, being worshipped by you, will spread my name and fame. He will vanquish the knot of your heart by becoming your son and teaching knowledge of Brahman. Purport. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes to disseminate spiritual knowledge for the benefit of all people, he generally descends as the son of a devotee, being pleased by the devotee's devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the father of everyone. No one therefore is his father, but by his inconceivable energy he accepts some of the devotees as his parents and descendants. It is explained here that spiritual knowledge vanquishes the knot of the heart. Matter and spirit are knotted by false ego. This identification of oneself with matter, which is called Hridaya Granthi, exists for all conditioned souls, and it becomes more and more tightened when there is too much affection for sex life. The explanation was given by Lord Rishabh to his sons that this material world is an atmosphere of attraction between male and female. That attraction takes the shape of a knot in the heart, and by material affection it becomes still more tight. For people who hanker after material possessions, society, friendship and love, this knot of affection becomes very strong. It is only by Brahma Bhavana, the instruction by which spiritual knowledge is enhanced, that the knot in the heart is cut to pieces. No material weapon is needed to cut this knot, but it requires bona fide spiritual instruction. Kadma Muni instructed his wife Devahuti that the Lord would appear as her son and disseminate spiritual knowledge to cut the knot of material identification.
Thoughts?
I just thought that was funny.
He didn't walk that side because he thought we were filming facing that way. So he walked behind us and he looked at the camera and realized, oh, duh, sorry. But anyway, thoughts?
Yeah, the Lord doesn't need parents. But in a world of devotees that are particularly devoted and advanced, he'll choose them, which therefore again suggests the qualification of Devahuti and Kadma Muni, because that you're saying externally it looks like they were a couple of sense gratification.
Sense gratifiers?
Yeah. But they're not, which is interesting because yes, even I've read this, I know this past I read it, and then now, every time you read this, it's mystical, because even with the Bhagavad Gita I think, oh yeah, I know the Gita, yeah, I've read it, but it's like, oh, did I read that in the Prabhupada? Did that line come up? It's layers, it's so deep. So now looking at it again with another vision, I'm thinking, yeah, gosh, they're super qualified to get the son they did, to get any empowered personality, let alone the Lord. But it does, if you look at it, I guess, with a certain vision, understanding, when you're reading it in a certain way, that pastime, that pastime where, Kadma Muni, he had the aerial mansion and he's flying around with his wife, but you don't get it, actually, that the Lord chose to appear from them, And that in itself is an example or message he's given, because that will be for eternity.
Yeah, and we should be very careful how we judge externally also.
Yeah.
Because we don't know how deep someone's devotion or love for Krishna is.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, externally, it may look one way,
Yeah.
And we often, either we try to conform or we think people should conform to a certain of course there should be certain levels of Vaishnava etiquette and conduct, but at the same time it's not that, it's not that what you see is always what you get exactly.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And
yeah,
so
yeah, that's true. And if one devotee recently pointed that out in terms of feeling, because everyone's different. As I'm talking about like us, normal. I'm not about on that level of cardinal. When you're talking about day-to-day devotees we meet and this, and you can judge. Oh, but they dress like that, so they, even if you just dress like beyond Primark, my level, it's like, oh, well, they get fancy clothes on. Oh, they went on a holiday. Did you know that? Oh, well, they, whatever. Oh, they got a fancy kitchen. I'm just for example, and immediately you can blueprint or tag people. Yes, so they're like that. Like what? Like what? You don't know what they feel when they chant. When they read. When you don't know their relationship. And here we are supposedly ticking certain boxes and looking certain part, and the foundation is cracked, quite frankly. And
let it all out. Just let it pour it out.
No, just
give it to everybody. Foundation is cracked. We're cracking up. I appreciated the Hridaya Granthi, the knot in the heart point, and there's already lots of knots in the heart, but as Prabhupada would often say, this entire universe is going on simply by sex desire, and that's not just between humans. It's like everything goes on by the principle of the reproduction system, whatever it may be. For plants it's one thing, for animals it's different, for birds it's slightly different, cats, dogs, and humans. But it's a very powerful force that pulls us from one thing to the next, just simply this overwhelming desire to reproduce. I remember hearing a lecture once, and they were saying that it's like there's this underlying feeling either in a man that I have to leave my seed, I have to continue my family line, I have to produce a male child and continue the family line. Like, where's that come from? So it's just inbuilt. And for a lady, the capacity, the ability that they have to produce a child, so then they want to also produce in that way. So this process of reproduction is very powerful, and the nature instills that propensity in the living entity, because nature wants to keep going on. so it's a natural instinct. I think actually we'll read it later maybe not in this chapter, but in later instructions from Kapila Dev, where he explains that simply because of a little itching in the living entity, they go forward and produce children, and just to get a little pleasure, you wind up having to deal with an entire lifetime of responsibility. And it seems like if you really weighed it up, it's like, was that really worth it? but it's like the bumper stickers, a dog's not just for Christmas, so it's like, child is forever, and it's like, and it's a lifetime of responsibility, and then the grandchildren, and so on and so forth. I'm not saying anything against that. I'm just saying that this is how strong the Hridaya Grantha, the knot in the heart, is to, and it's not just so much about enjoyment. Of course, that's there. That's the driving factor. But there's an underlying inclination to reproduce and continue, carry on whatever it is, the family tradition, the universe, material energy, Prakriti wants to keep keep continuity and continuation. So therefore, the modes of material nature instill within the living entity this need or desire to reproduce, to continue one's lineage, one's life, like that.
But I think sometimes also people don't question, and they just go on the conveyor belt of life, and it's just assumed, okay, you grow up, educate, get some education, get a job, I get married, of course I have kids, and preferably one girl, one boy, Haribo, and then you're like, okay, now I just exist until I guess I die. Sometimes people don't question that and don't realise you can stop that conveyor and get onto another one, if you know what I mean. Someone recently was saying that then they realised, because they just got a little kid, new one, and they were, and they were like, yeah, it's a big responsibility, and it takes up all your time. I said, yes, for the next at least 18 years, and they looked shocked, because it was like that dawning of realisation. This will be my life like this, or this sense of I don't have an I don't have a me, it's about them. I was like, yes.
I mean, from the other perspective, though, with that, of course, because let's make sure we're clear, we're not
anti-children.
Yeah, we're not propagating not having kids.
We're not anti-vax or anti-children.
But that's also can be a very powerful thing, having children, and it can teach you a sense of selflessness, which is very, very powerful mood, consciousness, and mentality to have in the process of devotional service. Of course, Srila Prabhupada explains that a mother's love for a child is the closest thing you can get to the experience of selfless love that's there in the spiritual world. So it can really teach us selflessness, because it's not that we really want an overtly powerful I, me, and my situation. That's already there. So as soon as you have this little living entity to look after, plus, as Krishna's pastimes teach us, that all the residents of Vrindavan, they're all in love with Krishna, and especially in his childhood, his Bhagavatam form. And they just love looking after him. So we can see it as service also to Krishna. And that should be the point from the beginning, that to bring this child into the world is my service to help to deliver the child. But there will be many tests and many challenges along the way, and it is a very selfless thing. And when one realizes how selfless you have to be, then one may feel a little selfish. And then you get this, hey, let's strike a balance here where I can try to enjoy at the same time as look after the child. And so it's a big conversation.
It's also great. Kids are a great way of making us as devotees become fixed and serious, because you realize, oh my God, I need to help this jiva, and so I need to. How can I give this jiva Krishna conscious if I don't have it? The taste, the regulation, the activities, because you can't just say we're Hare Krishnas and then expect them to be. You have to practice it and live it, and that's just not just for Hare Krishna, any faith. If someone drags you to church every Sunday, but if you don't see it lived in a joyful way and practical way and part of the life, when you got a chance to give it up like that. So it's also great at increasing one's, adding to it, increase fine-tuning our own faith and realizing, and then you see parents, they do really nice creative things to give Krishna consciousness to their kids, and like sometimes, social media or just amongst friends, create a group, and that's nice as well, because it increases the faith of the parents being together and having appropriate sangha. You can relate, and so it's actually unlimited. Which is what we were saying in the end of the last reading, how Prabhupada was saying in the purport of the last reading, whatever skills and abilities and interests you have, you can just think about it. Make a list, think, what do I like, what can I do, and you can dovetail it. Because you're unique in yourself, and which someone else may not be able to do that, and so you can do that and dovetail it in Krishna consciousness, and that way living that Krishna conscious life, if that makes sense. Not just, oh yeah, when I go on a Saturday or Sunday. You know, our lives are, devotional service in what we do.
Yeah, if you look after your child for Krishna, that's devotional service.
Yeah.
That's bhakti.
You're nurturing and caring for a jiva, you know?
Whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
Do it for Krishna.
Yeah, just Nike says, just do it.
For Krishna.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll conclude here. And we'll pick up again next time.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Grantarai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.